Everybody needed a catharsis on that show. We were together for 9 years, and that's why we blew it up. That plus the fact I didn't want anybody making a trashy movie at Walnut Grove.
For anyone who grew up in the 1970s and early 1980s, Little House on the Prairie was never just a television show. It felt like a weekly ritual.
Save my son.
Only he knows. And if he doesn't, will you lose your faith?
A quiet gathering around the screen where families slowed down and watched something that felt honest, gentle, and deeply human. The stories of the Ingalls family weren't flashy or loud. They were patient, they lingered, and somehow they made hardship feel meaningful instead of hopeless. Which is why, decades later, fans still ask the same question with a mix of confusion and sadness.
When we were playing those really lovely scenes in the bedroom in the little house, we were kind of trapped there in that bed because the room was so tiny and the crew was all around us. Almost all men, one woman besides me, only light on us. And Mike started telling these filthy jokes about the female anatomy that I cannot remember and would not repeat anyway.
Why did a show that meant so much to so many suddenly come to an end? Before he passed away, Michael Landon finally gave an answer, and it wasn't fueled by anger, ratings panic, or behind-the-scenes betrayal. It was something far quieter, far more personal, and far more in line with the way Little House on the Prairie had always told its stories. From the outside, the show looked like the very definition of stability.
Then go to the altar, my son.
I felt different playing it. Very different. I felt very close to God playing it. Very close.
When you say
Tremendous physical effects that happened to me.
Inspired by the beloved books of Laura Ingalls Wilder, the series ran from 1974 to 1984, spanning 9 seasons, over 200 episodes, and multiple follow-up films. It became one of the most recognizable family dramas in American television history. Week after week, viewers stepped into Walnut Grove, Minnesota, watching the Ingalls family carve out a life shaped by faith, resilience, and community. But what made the show endure wasn't just its warmth.
I guess, in this day and age in 2021, that would never have been allowed to happen. I mean, it was pretty raunchy talk, right?
Oh, God, yes. And I was raised to be a good girl, rise above, look the other way.
It was its honesty. Beneath the soft lighting and pastoral landscapes were stories about poverty that hurt, addiction that shattered families, children lost to illness, and adults carrying grief they never fully spoke about. The show didn't pretend the past was easy. It showed that survival itself was an act of courage. That balance between hope and hardship is what made the ending so difficult to accept.
I felt like I was just filled with electricity playing that part. I really did.
Did you know that you were going to have that boy miraculously healed?
I had no notion of what I was going to write about. I knew it was going to have something to do with the boy recovering. But the fact that it turned out the way it turned out, it just happened. I sat down and I started writing. It's just that I knew what the bare bones of the story were as I was writing. I didn't know what was happening from one scene to the next. It just kept happening. I think there are certain things inside people.
Long before Little House existed, Michael Landon was already a familiar face in American homes. For 14 years, audiences had watched him on Bonanza, where he grew from a young heartthrob into a trusted presence. By the time NBC approached him with the idea of adapting Wilder's books, Landon wasn't just being hired as an actor. He was being invited to help build an entire world.
Don't react. And I just sat there frozen, just frozen. and then we would shoot the scene.
From the very beginning, Landon understood that Little House needed a different rhythm than most television. He played Charles Ingalls not as a heroic frontier icon, but as a gentle, flawed father doing his best. More importantly, Landon became the show's guiding force behind the scenes. He directed the pilot himself. He wrote scripts. He shaped tone, pacing, and emotional honesty. Over the course of the series, he directed nearly half the episodes, imprinting his values onto every corner of Walnut Grove. Those who worked on the show often described Landon as intense, but deeply caring. He believed emotion couldn't be forced. If a first take felt real, he wanted to keep it. He discouraged over-polishing and encouraged vulnerability, especially from the child actors who were growing up in front of millions of viewers. For them, Landon wasn't just a boss. He became a steady paternal presence. Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura, later spoke openly about how deeply he shaped her life. He didn't just teach her how to act. He taught her what mattered: family, responsibility, loyalty. He reminded her that fame fades, but character doesn't. Those lessons followed her long after the cameras stopped rolling. On set, Landon balanced seriousness with humor. He was known for pranks, jokes, and an ability to break tension on exhausting days. Cast members remembered him as someone who understood that joy mattered just as much as discipline.
That they're never really aware of all the time. And where they come from, I don't know. The crew was very interesting while we were doing it. It had a tremendous emotional impact on the crew. Because in its own way, to be very honest with you, I think it frightened them a little bit. In a nice way. But they've seen me play this part for 8 years, and I am, in fact, that man to them when they watch me work. And to see that man have so much open faith that I think everybody would like to be a part of.
His laughter became part of the atmosphere of Walnut Grove, blending into the very identity of the show. Yet even with all that success, Landon never believed Little House was meant to run forever. Landon was deeply uncomfortable with forcing that dynamic to continue artificially. In later interviews, he explained it simply. A married woman shouldn't still be running to her father for everything. To him, that would have betrayed the realism the show was built on. He believed stories should end when they stopped being truthful, not when networks squeezed the last possible dollar out of them. That belief led to one of the most shocking finales in television history. In 1984, Little House on the Prairie concluded with a television movie titled The Last Farewell. Instead of a quiet goodbye, viewers witnessed something almost surreal. Charles and Caroline returned to Walnut Grove only to find it stripped of autonomy, overtaken by a railroad company that viewed the town as nothing more than property. Faced with losing everything, the residents made a radical decision. They destroyed their own town. Houses were dismantled. Buildings were blown apart. Walnut Grove vanished into clouds of dust and fire. For many fans, it felt like an act of rage. Rumors spread that Landon had done it out of bitterness, either toward NBC or toward the idea of someone else using the set. The image of him burning down his own creation felt dramatic enough to be true. But the reality was far more grounded. The land used for Walnut Grove was rented. When production ended, the contract required that everything be removed and the property returned to its natural state. Dismantling the town piece by piece would have taken months. Controlled demolition was faster, safer, and more efficient. Landon simply turned necessity into symbolism.